what this kid's making, he just did this deal and he's teaching this, and like, let's watch this because this is just more interesting. So I think a lot of it has to come into like your personality, the way you present things. For me, the reason why I think I've been able to grow is just straight consistency. I don't think I've like people watch me and are like, hey, this guy's super cool or this guy's so fun. I don't think I have anything that really shoots me out like in front of other people, other than I just put out a ton of content, and that's it.
You had a business partner, you're having fun with it. So why did you eventually decide to start hiring people? What was kind of going through your mind? And yeah, let's like just start there, because that's been like the topic of our conversation.
Yeah.
It's been like scaling and not scaling.
So what made us want to like hire more people eventually when we started? It was drinking the Kool-Aid of scaling. That was it.
Yeah.
Because like everything we watched, everything we consumed, like I think we spent like $7,000 to go to like an all-in seminar with Carlos Reyes and Shal Shakur,
Right.
I think. And so we went there, and the whole time they're like, build a business, get an office. So we were just drinking that, like, let's build an office, let's get a giant office. So as soon as we came back from that, we bought like an office we couldn't really afford. Well, we didn't buy, but we like rented a giant office,
Right.
started hiring people, started bringing in leads. And, I'm not saying we didn't lose money, but it just was like, it was a lot of work. And, obviously now I would be way better at running it, but it's a learning experience, right? But that's why we did it, scaling, because that's what we were told to do.
No, it makes sense, right? Is there like a time in your future where you would consider trying that again, and maybe doing it this time with like maybe a different business partner, or trying again, or what are you thinking about that? Or do you think just solopreneur, just get enough money where you can eventually lend out your money and just live off that? That's also something I've thought of, where it's like, man, if you want the lifestyle thing, like that's not a bad way to do it. Is just get wholesale till you have like 4 or 5 million in the bank, and then just become a hard money lender, and you could live off that forever.
That's a good question. I haven't really thought about building up that model again of like, let me get some acquisition reps. Let me get me some. I don't personally think that's the best model to go by. So no, I wouldn't do that. If I were to do it, like I would specifically target NODs and probates, and I would just continuously mail them for the rest of their lives until that property sold. And I would just do those deals like here and there, because those take time, but I would be consistent with the marketing. If if I was to do off market, right, it would just be NODs, probates, consistently just hitting them up. And in the model I do right now, Painless Flipping is like, you're known in your market as a company that has like good relationships with buyers, you can dispo. So I would more build that model of like, hey, Painless Flipping, man, these are the guys to go to, that they can get you your offers real quick, and they have great buyers. They're honest and easy to work with. That model, I think, whether you want to call it like the New Western, the Keegley, the Net Worth, the Realty, Roof One, I mean, you name it, they're popping up all over the world, all over the place. Like,
it's the better model.
It's a better model
By far.
by far. 1,000,000,000% better
Easily.
model. Because I was just talking to my team this morning about it. It's like, what is our model? What is the Painless Flipping model? Like, all it is like, you already have like thousands of acquisitions people working for you, and you just have to be a better dispo team than their team, right? You just got to be better at selling or finding a better buyer. So I could show you like thousands of deals I can look at right now, but I just have to be $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, whatever, better than their best buyer, and I make money. Like, no risk, no marketing spend, and again, I just have to be better or quicker. That sounds like a good model to me.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I mean, I definitely think that's the best model by far, especially for wholesaling real estate. I think most people should go for that. Direct to seller is great. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just such a harder model to do. I think it's just harder in general. Like I do most of mine through real estate agents. That's like my thing. I work with wholesalers too, but like those are like really special relationships. But being a dispo powerhouse, it's just so much better. Like so much better.
Like, people say like, let me get into wholesaling because it's risk-free. Like, not if you do the traditional way. Like, if you if you go out and you have like a marketing campaign, or like you're doing pay-per-click or any sort of marketing, that's not risk-free. Like you're putting out money every month. And if you don't get deals to cover your marketing expenses, like you're in the hole. So it is risk.
Right.
There's risk. And that's kind of like what I didn't really take account for when I first started. Like when I first started, I was cold calling myself. I was knocking doors. So that you could say that's just your time. But eventually when you want to scale, there's a lot of risk involved. There's teams, there's payments, there's like salaries, like, yeah. So that's fine. It's a business. Like that's what most businesses are like. But if you want to do it really risk free, you do it the painless way, or, like you're doing it. I just call it the painless way because I'm trying to brand it, but that's
Yeah,
pretty much
no
it.
worries. It's a great name. I love the name of it. So real
Thank
quick, talk about the painless way. Like, is there anything that differentiates it from like Keegley or New Western or anything? Like, was there anything that you were like, okay, this is my little touch to that type of model though?
To be honest, I don't know much about what those guys like. I haven't taken any of their courses or done much about what they do, but I do know like
Hmm.
somewhat like New Western, the way they work is like they separate their dispo and their acquisitions, and they don't really communicate very well. Like the dispo team doesn't really know what the acquisition price is, or like they kind of keep it like separate. Like I would say like me, it's like the transparency working with the buyer. Like I call buyers and I'm like, hey, hey, I got this deal. I see that this deal is, you probably saw it went out for 260. I personally know that the wholesaler has their best offer is like 250 or whatever, or I know that they can go way lower. So it's like me, the transparency, being able to like sell the deal to the buyer. I would say that's like what I'm good at, and what I'm good at teaching is like, there's thousands of deals that these buyers are seeing right now. Like I am better at getting them sold, and I'm better at knowing why it's a good deal for them to look at. Because I was just sitting with a buyer. I just went to lunch with a buyer, and he's like, bro, I get text from Keegley and I just look at the deal and it sucks. That's what he's telling me. They're just like, the
Right.
spread is always not even that good. So what I do is I call Keegley and I say, yo, Keegley, like, I already know my buyer or is going to be less than this. Like, what's the situation? What's the story? Like, cause he's going to want to be at this price. So I try to negotiate and find out where they really are and what they're willing to accept. And then I call the buyer and like, hey, this is the situation. Can you get it done? Let's get it done quick. So I don't know what Astro and all those guys do, but mine's more calling and negotiating on both
Yours
sides
is
to
more
make sure
personal.
it's
No,
more. Yeah.
it's much
I,
more personal, which I think is a great model. And honestly, I've been trying to do more of that with my company of being like, why don't we get like 10 buyers who like we could send them anything and be like, where would you be at? And then like that we get like better ideas in general,
yeah. Yeah.
like
And
of what we can sell.
you just nailed like the difference. The difference is like we can sell deals before we even have them under contract. Like that's what the painless way is. Like, for example, if I'm talking to an off-market seller and they want 260, I'll call John and be like, hey, John, they want 260. I don't have it under contract. I'm getting negotiated. Would that work for you? Or where are you going to be on that? He's like, dude, I'd be more around 240. I'd be like, okay. I'd call the seller, don't have it under contract still. Hey, seller, 230 and it's done. And that all that is done before I even have it under contract. Same thing with the wholesaler. I'm working with a wholesaler. Hey, wholesaler, you got it at 240. Let me just check. So I don't ever really need an assignment. I don't need you to lock it up with me. Let me just ask, because I have those relationships, and
Right.
it's easy that way. So I don't have to do paperwork. I don't have to waste time. And it's a quick model.
No, I love it. I love it so much. Yeah, I mean, that's something that I think I want to start implementing definitely a lot with my team. How many buyers do you feel like you have that type of like personal relationship where you can like be like, all right, let's just go to them and see where we're at.
So in Utah, because I've been in Utah for quite a while, it's like probably 10 or 11, like seriously, like I'm cool with,
Right.
and I can just call. In Orlando, we just started there like a couple months ago. It's like 4 or 5. And when we're talking like really tight, I mean, like I can call them and we can chat, but it's you really can't, in my opinion, like develop like 50 or 100, right? You got to have like
Yeah.
your go-to people where it's like, hey, bro, if I hit you up, I got to get a response because they're waiting on me. And not buyers are going to be willing to do that. But yeah, you don't need that many. You just need a couple that are going to buy and that will do this with you.
100%. No, I like it. So let's talk about it. Like how do you determine whether one of them is going to be that buyer or not? Right? Like how do you determine who you're going to put onto that like VIP, let's just sell it to these guys type of list?
I would say like once you start sending deals and they come in with prices that are reasonable, right? Like I'm not going to work with someone who's just lowballing me all the time. And I'll even ask them, be like, hey man, come, like that offer you made, like obviously I would buy it at that price. Like you got to give me something like competitive or I'm not going to be able to work with you. So I would say like, are they reasonable or are they just like lowballing everything, right? Does that make sense? They got to be
Yeah,
able to pay a good
100%.
amount. So they got to be responsive because the as a wholesaler or as like a dispo powerhouse, you have to have answers like that. You need to go see the house. You need to be able to take action. Can you put your EMD in like right now? Like not just let me get my EMD. It'll take me a couple days. Like no. And are they able to do more than like one deal a month? Because you don't want that one. You don't want to build that relationship with one guy who can take one deal every 6 months. It's like, well, that's not going to really help me out. So there's multiple factors, but it's like they have to be responsive. They got to be willing to give you feedback, even if you don't have it under contract. And all those things just pile up.
Gotcha. Gotcha. No, I like it. I mean, I'm thinking I might like literally implement that with my team right now. I feel like it's hard to do. It's hard to do with the team, but like I think that would be much better a lot of times just doing it where it's like, let's just try to sell to like 10 to 20 people max and see what happens, right? And get it at a price where it works for one of them
Yeah,
first, right? And
I
like
think
and
that's a
like
good idea.
maybe if it's like that or absolutely nothing, then we could go to like a wider variety. But no, I like that.
And the reason why this model is good is because like we all find ourselves in a situation where the seller wants like pretty much where it's not a deal. Like it's like teetering on the fact, like even if you try to negotiate them down, it's like still like if if you can get a deal that's like 50% of Zillow or way discounted, then you don't need to like ask anyone if they would buy it. But a lot of the things
Right.
where we're finding ourselves is like this could be a deal, as it could not be a deal if I were to wholesale it. And I don't want to tell the seller I can buy it and then waste their time, waste my time, because that's what we did for a long time in my company. Like we would just our models like, let's just give it a shot. Let's just try it. And
Right.
we'd send it out. It would waste dispose time, acquisitions time would like the morale of the company would go up and down. Like we would get it wasn't even exciting to get a house under contract. Sometimes we were just like, okay, well, we'll see. We don't even know. So, that's really demoralizing to like work really hard with a off market seller and then find out you came and sell it and then renegotiating doesn't work. So anyway, it's just way better to know. And if it's too tight, just ask somebody.
Right. No, I 100% understand. No, I like that a lot. Like it is, and it's just a good point. It's like, why not just send it to like the 10 first, right? If you're like really close on something, you're not 100% sure, right? So
Yeah.
no, I love that. That's like a great, solid idea, right? So yeah, I'm gonna talk to my business partner about that, about like being like, let's just like do this for ones that are close. Like
Yeah.
if we're like not sure, right? Like if it's obvious, then like fuck it, whatever.
Yeah.
But
If
if
it's
it's
obvious,
not
it's
as
easy.
obvious,
Just
why
lock
not?
it up.
Yeah, exactly. So cool, man. I love it. So then 3-day weekends, love it. Work really hard for 4 days, but then take a 3-day weekend, just be with the kid. Wait, is your daughter born yet, or do you have kids yet? Or
Oh, bro, she's born. She just turned 6 months.
oh, nice,
I'm
love it.
gonna show you.
Awesome,
I'm
beautiful.
gonna show you a pic, bro. Let's see. This
How does
six
that feel? How does it feel to be a dad?
Man, it's the greatest thing ever, dude. It's like that's all I want to do is hang out with my baby. All I want to do is
Yep.
work and hang out with my baby. Those are the two
Yeah.
things.
No, I
Uh,
like it.
let me see. Let me see. 6 months. Look at that.
Beautiful,
Isn't
beautiful
that
daughter.
isn't that crazy?
I love it.
That's wild.
I love it. So let's switch steps a little bit. Getting off of wholesale a little bit. Let's talk about social media,
Okay.
right? What do you feel like has made you successful in this realm? Do you feel like it's the same thing we were talking about, where it's just keep putting out content over and over again, or is it like if someone's trying to get like more successful in social media, what would you say to them?
Dude, social media is an enigma. It's crazy. You can ask 10 different people and they'll all give you experts and they'll give you different answers. They'll say like hooks hooks are what's important, or you got to catch them in the
Right.
first 3 seconds, or you got to like, I personally believe that like sometimes social media attaches on to like some people differently than others. Like it'll promote some guy just because he's got a funny accent and people like watch him more. Does that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like maybe somebody's
Totally.
quirky or people are like, oh, that guy's interesting. Like for example, on TikTok, like I've been on TikTok, like trying to figure out how to break into TikTok, and I'll make a video that like says the exact same thing as some like 17-year-old that's kind of a nerd. And I'm not like roasting him, like it's cool to be a nerd, but he's just kind of a nerdy guy. So I think if he says it versus me, people are like, what, this kid's making, he just did this deal and he's teaching this, and like, let's watch this because this is just more interesting. So I think a lot of it has to come into like your personality, the way you present things. For me, the reason why I think I've been able to grow is just straight consistency. I don't think I've like people
Yeah.
watch me and are like, hey, this guy's super cool, or this guy's so fun. I don't think I have anything that really shoots me out like in front of other people, other than I just put out a ton of content, and that's it. I'd be
I
cool if like,
doubt that. I feel like it's also partially you. You've got like a good personality. Trust me. I've had people on here who I'm like, wow, this is a boring conversation. And I guarantee you that's not happening right now. Like this is like an
oh man,
interesting conversation.
that
Right.
I've had well where you're just like, man, this sucks for me.
Yeah,
But
right.
just
And
to
it's
do
just
it,
like,
yeah.
all right, I'm gonna end the podcast early or whatever. So personality, consistency, doing it a lot. Like what's your schedule of releases? Like what are you releasing? How much are you releasing?
It was less, but now it's 2 shorts or reels a day on all platforms, and then 1 long form. I do 5 long form videos on YouTube a week, and 2 shorts,
Nice.
and then on all the other platforms, it's 2 reels, 2 shorts, or some posts, and it's just nonstop. Just
That's
that's all I do.
crazy. That is a lot of content to be releasing and also wholesaling or having a wholesale company and like doing it solo.
I wouldn't be able
Like,
to
how
do
are
the
you?
content. I'm not doing the content. That's I hired some VAs to help me with that side. Yeah.
Well, with editing it, but you still got to film it. It's still got to be you, right? And you maybe come up with the ideas.
Yeah, so with the filming, most of my content is me doing wholesaling or taking action.
Gotcha. So
And
you're doing it anyways.
I'm doing it anyways, and that's what I want to watch, and I figure that's what people want to watch as well, because like I can't really stand like talking head videos where people just explain something. I'm like, everybody
Yeah.
can do that. Let me show people me actually doing it. So that's been easy to film, and then one Friday a month, or like sometimes I'll do a little bit more, but just once a month I'll film for like the whole day, and then we'll just cut those up and use that.
Nice.
So that's when I was trying to get big into TikTok, or like try to break into that. Like I was telling you, like it was a lot of work, but my personal opinion on TikTok is like people just get lucky.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. And then so yeah, I mean the one Friday a month that totally makes sense. And then so when you're filming yourself, right?
Mhm.
Just doing something, do you just get like a tripod, put your phone up, or like how do you film yourself while you're doing whatever you're doing?
In the beginning, it was StreamYard on the laptop, right? Just like talking to the camera and filming and
So you were
sharing my
just like
screen.
streaming.
Either streaming, or like if I had an idea and I didn't want to go live, I would just do it and talk to the camera like this, right? And it's evolved over time. Like most of the time, it was just on my computer. That was most of the content, and then it was a tripod. Now I have a teleprompter I bought that like I'm able to come up with a script using Chat GPT, and then I just read off what needs to be said on that and then film myself. So it's been an evolution, but in the beginning, it was just filming myself working.
Gotcha. Love it. It makes sense. Yeah, I mean, it totally makes sense. It definitely works, right? And then how about the coaching program? Like the thing is like, do you have? It's interesting to me. Is like you have maybe you don't have huge teams for each of them, but do you have like? It sounds like you have different VAs for different companies, right? Like for the coaching and stuff like that. How do you? You said you had other coaches for the coaching company, or how does that work?
Yeah, have you read the book Who Not How, or do you know the concept
Yeah.
behind Who Not How?
Yep. Yep.
That's
Yep.
all it's been, is like, look, I could coach everyone myself, which I did in the very beginning, or I could get like all-star coaches who like are better than me, and let me just send the clients or the students that I work with, and obviously we work with them, but let's give them that additional one-on-one help on the mindset, because half of it is mindset. I'd say more of wholesaling is mindset in the beginning, and then,
Yeah.
a real estate coach. So who, not how. Let's get the best people to do the work versus me trying to do it all like I did in the very beginning.
Gotcha. And then who did you find? How did you find the people who are your coaches now? Were they people who also did wholesaling, or were they like more coaches that were looking for a job, or how did that work?
Networking, it's all about networking, getting in the room with the best people in the industry. So I've joined multiple masterminds in the last couple of years, learned from like the best. And I met a company called Achieve Today that helps, that I've networked, and, we worked out a deal, and, that's who I work with on the coaching side. And, on the marketing side, worked with someone else that came from the mastermind. So again, it's just connecting with the right people that are the industry leaders and making sure you have the best.
I love that. Awesome. Cool. 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 Yeah.
And
No,
I'll
it
say I'll say
totally.
one last thing, is if that's cool.
No.
About, like, if I were to ever, like, build the traditional model of wholesaling, I would never do my own marketing again. Because when I first started, that's what I thought I had to do. I was like, okay, I got to hire some virtual assistants. I got to get them on the Mojo dialer or the call tools or whatever, monitor that, put lists in there. And that's what I did. But now, obviously, like, I'm not an expert marketer. I'm not the expert at, like, knowing what lists to pull or, like, how to scrape the data or whatever. I'm hiring that ish out to, like, the best people. Same with pay-per-click, same with whatever. So I know a lot of people can't do that in the beginning because it costs money. But now, from learning what I know now, it's like, just don't let that consume your thoughts, like, drain your energy. Like, get the right people in the right seats. And that's the best way to scale, is not just trying to figure out how to do everything and wear all the hats. You got to delegate and find the right who's.
No, totally makes sense. Although I don't think you should ever do it again. I mean, you can scale the JV model or the
I know.
agent
Yeah.
model, right? Would
Yeah.
just rather do that always. I look at directors, I'm like, you guys are crazy. This is just so much harder than
Bro.
like doing the JV slash agent model. I'm like worried that my model, and it probably will just eventually get so saturated that like it actually becomes better to do direct to seller eventually. I feel like different things goes in ebbs and flows, right? But
I
I don't know.
I agree. So that's kind of like why I like the model that I do, is like the relationship based, because eventually you're gonna have so many of these JV models there that are just emailing crappy deals. That's what's
Right.
happening right now. Like, if you, no offense to Keegley, but they're franchises, so you can't really do quality control on every franchise and make sure people don't send out
Yeah.
crap. So what I do is I call the wholesaler and say, hey, no offense, but, like, your deal, it doesn't make sense for most buyers. Like, what do you have it under contract for? Or, like, where can we make this make sense so I can get my buyer in, or we can get this done? So I think my model is actually going to be better as more wholesalers come in and do the JV route, because we're going to get down to the bottom line and be like, hey, bro, no one's responding to your emails because your deal sucks.
Yeah, 100%. No, I agree, man. And like you've inspired me definitely to talk to my dispo people and my dispo team and my business partner about like why don't we like to focus more on this right now? Like get like 10 max 10 15 buyers who like we show them like everything that's even close in our opinion
Yeah.
and just try to get opinions on it, right? Before we even necessarily lock it up. I like that idea a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, and just get their criteria super down to the scaling.
Let me
So
know. Let
I
me know
like
how
it
it
a lot.
goes. Yeah. Let me know how it goes, because
Yeah.
there are buyers that literally just sit there and they look at deals all day, bro. Like, I have a buyer that's just like,
Yeah.
every email I get, I look at, right? And a lot of them don't make the offer. They'll just look at it and be like, this deal's not good. I'm not gonna. So, like, if you can give them even a step up and be like, hey, this is a deal, but we're in negotiations. Where would this need to work? They're gonna love you. They're gonna be like, sweet. So you'll let me know. You really want to know what I'd offer? And then you're like, yeah, man, if you give me a price, I can get it done. Let's just have it done already. We don't even have to worry about it. So
Yeah. I
you'll
like
love it.
it. I like it a lot. Yeah, I'm gonna have my business partner watch this podcast back for sure. That's definitely gonna be happening. So
Good.
yeah, man, I love it. This has been an awesome podcast so far. We started a little late, so I just want to get a time check on you. Do you have a hard stop at 3 or can you go a little bit longer?
If we need to chat a little bit more, I can go a little bit longer. Yeah.
For sure. So I'll start with this. So I usually start ending the podcast with two questions,
Okay.
basically, right? One is what were like your most formative books or pieces of content or something that someone should watch if they really want to be doing, let's say, wholesale real estate?
You know what? I haven't really read Any books that have to do with real estate that have like really influenced me on like how to attack just real estate in
Or
general?
just business, or
Business
just
books.
business or life or whatever. Your favorite piece of content that would
Let me grab them because if you can see, like I'm really big into reading. I got my bookshelves back there, so right
yeah.
there, I'll just go grab it. Let me see if I can. So
Go grab
10x.
it.
So right there, I'm just pointing at it. I'll grab it.
You can go grab it. Go grab it.
So this book is really good. So 10x is easier than 2x by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. They're the ones. He's the one that did Who Not How and The Gap and the Gain. This book's dope. So this book talks about like,
Nice.
cutting the things that are 2x, like the things that are taking up a majority of your time. It's like the 80-20 principle, right? Like most of the things that are
Yep.
sucking your time are the ones that you probably should cut, and you should focus on bigger fish. So I'll give you an example for our coaching company. Like we used to focus on like a 997 product in the sense of like join this program. We'll give you the course. We'll give you everything like that. And that's fine. But then we were like, hey, you know what? Honestly, like most of the students that are succeeding and the best we can give are the people in like the one-on-one mentorship. It is more expensive, obviously, because you get like more attention, but those are the best people to work with. They require the least amount of work. When we were working with the 997, a lot of like questions, a lot of complaints, like and it was taking more of our work, and we were making less. So it was like, let's focus on that. Right. And it's kind of the same thing with the
Yeah.
wholesale. It's like, hey, what's taking most of our time and energy? Well, it's working with sellers, is dealing with title issues, is dealing with all these problems. Yes, we're making money, but it's sucking most of our time. What's making us the most money is just like, let's dispose some deals for people that are good deals. So it's like that. Just focus on what is making you more and requiring less of your time. And that's kind of what the book's about.
I
So
love
read
it.
this.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I love it. And then the last question I usually end this with is basically, if you were to go back to your former self, you're right when you're about to start wholesaling real estate, what would you change? What would you tell that version of Nathan then, knowing everything that you know now?
Don't try to scale so fast. That's what I would say.
Or
I'd
at
say, hey,
all?
or at all, because like a lot of the headaches and the heartaches or whatever, like you learn, right? So I've learned a lot by doing that and try to go that route. But I would say, hey man, like if you just stick in this and like don't try to hire cold callers or build a team up, it's honestly like what my wife told me the whole time. She's like, hey, just stick at it like for 2 years and just like get really, really good at it. But I always was like, nah, I got to build this $1 million business. I got to like grow this thing big. So I would just say, hey, slow down. Don't try to get out of the tough work or the grind so fast and try to get someone else to do it, but like master it and then grow and scale. So that's what I would tell myself. Like, be cool with doing the hard work for a little bit longer.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I love it, man. I love it. Do you have any last words? Like, do you have anything that people should check you out? I mean, everyone should go to Nathan. It's Nathan Payne on Instagram. Where should people go to find you? Where can they send you deals? Is there anything else they should check out about you? Like anything we should be plugging that's coming up or anything like that?
Yeah, so I have a free master class that I do every Thursday that explains my model, like
Nice.
exactly what I'm teaching. It's today at 4. It's every Thursday, so it's today at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's free to join. It's at Painless Flipping, Payne, PAYNE, LESS, painlessflipping.com. You guys can check that out. And YouTube is like where I'm really trying to grow because I like YouTube. It's one of the platforms I use. So if you just go to Nathan Payne or Painless Flipping on YouTube, you can see like more of what I am about. I do a lot of what I say. I show my screen. I teach you how to do it. So if you want to learn how to do it, go subscribe and check out my YouTube channel. I would say those are the two places where I would want you to go. Go to masterclass or go to YouTube. Either one's perfect to learn. And then you want to connect with me, just you know how to do it. You DM me on anything.
Awesome, bro. Well, this has been an amazing podcast. Stay afterwards. There's some cool things. I want to talk to you about a few things too off the podcast, but are there any last words right now?
I would just tell people that are getting into wholesaling to like, if you're getting into this because you're like, this is so easy, like any business that you're trying to learn, anything you're trying to do, it requires work and it's going to be tough in the beginning. Like I was talking to someone that wanted to get into wholesaling because they're getting out of car sales and like, yo, car sales sucks, man. Let me get into wholesale. I'm like, hey, Mero, it's going to suck here too. That's just how it is. You got to learn. You're not going to be able to come in here and just crush it. Like you got to go through the fire, right? You got to get scorched a little bit. And
Yeah.
so I would just let everyone know that it's important to have realistic expectations, that if you want to master any skill, you're going to have to fail a little bit to master what you're trying to figure out. So
totally makes sense. Nathan, it's been a pleasure, my man. I appreciate you. Guys, next week, same old, nothing crazy that next week, just Cash Flow and Coffee, which is my podcast, 9:50 a.m. MST. If you guys want to come and ask questions, it's going to be my YouTube, which is just my name. And then we'll do another episode of Scorch of Fears next week with an awesome guest. Nathan, you've been awesome. This is episode 109. I'll see y'all next week. Let's freaking go.